she grabs one, she turns to Madonna and says, if you say corn on the cob one more time, this one is going right up your fill in the blank.
Oh my God.
So that's it. Thank you very much. That's the end of my career.
All right.
That's it.
Today on The Greatest Stories Never Told, we have the legend Tony Horton. Tony's best known as the creator of P90X, the most popular workout program of all time that was used by 11 million people. He's trained celebrities like Tom Petty, Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Nicks, Shirley MacLaine. Today he's going to reveal all of the wild stories that happen behind the scenes, some of which have never been told before, some of which people probably don't want him to spill. It's starting right now with Tony Horton.
Wow, hey, 3 in a row.
Oh yeah, well, I don't want to take out the neighbor's kids, you know what I mean, at this point, so.
Tony, my man, thanks for being on the show, brother.
Greg, pleasure, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
Okay, so P90X comes out, it becomes a phenomenon, the biggest infomercial at the time, maybe of all time, definitely the biggest workout program of all time. And so at this point, you probably were getting off of your own rock star bus and having people look at you, right? I mean, it must have been a trip to go from being the guy behind the scenes to the guy in front of the camera and in millions of homes. I mean, were you just getting recognized everywhere you went?
Well, you know, it's funny. The program, so there was Great Body Guaranteed, that was first. And the next one was called Power 90. And so Great Body Guaranteed, I don't know how many those we sold, but no one recognized me from that, even though I was, you know, they were these little short format infomercials that you would kind of pop around, right? So I was
like a 2-minute spot?
2-minute spots, I think,
okay.
mostly.
Yeah, because I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
until
nobody,
just now,
most people don't.
Okay.
And then Power 90 came out, and then, you know, same thing. It didn't do very well because we wanted you to work out 5-6 days a week, and you had to eat right and all that kind of stuff. And but there was a long form infomercial format that was out there, and then that's when they started to trickle in. When all of a sudden I'd be at the pharmacy or whatever. I'd be at the grocery store, and it's so strange because when you're completely anonymous, right, and no one knows who you are except for your friends and the people you work with, and then a total stranger comes up and says something to you, there's no school for that. There's no class for that. It's all of a sudden like, oh, okay, wow, all right. I didn't expect you to come up to me and say these things. But I think inherently because of who I am anyway, I'm a very social person. I'm a very, you know, I like talking to people. I was probably a politician in a past life or something. And I enjoyed it. I love to get their feedback and tell me their story, what happened, you know what I mean? And so with the original Power 90, that would happen like once a week.
Okay.
You know what I mean? For about, 8 months to a year. And then, then we made P90X, and of course that first, 8 months to a year didn't do very well, but when it went like this, it was, it wasn't Brad Pitt crazy, but it was all the time. I would leave the house and it would happen. And sometimes it would be one person in the day, sometimes it would be 15. You go through an airport and it got weird, you know what I mean? Like people coming the other way and you'd get sort of like a...
What is it about the airports?
Dude! And then you like everybody, like if they didn't have the cojones to come up and say hello, there was a lot of this. Like the whole I'd go to the airport and everybody would be doing this, And so, and I don't think, I think maybe once or twice I didn't have the time because I was running around or I was in the middle of something to actually stop and say hello and hear people's story. And I'll take every picture, I'll shake every hand, and I'll listen to anybody and everybody. But it's weird, it's weird. And some people aren't very good at it. It sort of exaggerates kind of who they already are. So if you're kind of a bonehead anyway, and you start making some money and becoming famous, you turn into a bigger bonehead. And then for me, I was an insecure, shy kid who's getting attention from strangers. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'll say hello to you, take a selfie.
Yeah.
Because with P90X, as much or more than anything I ever sold, the stories are supernatural. Like I got one just the other day. The subject was, because people can write into my
Instagram
page or my website.
Yeah.
Website, you can write to the website. And the subject line was, "You saved my aunt's life." And so she basically says that my godmother, my aunt, her husband committed suicide 4 years ago. And, out of the blue, unexpected, she was so distraught, so shaken, so broken from this event. The only reason why she didn't kill herself too is because they had a 4-year-old child. And for the longest time, she was living in hell. And then she just somehow she said, I started doing P90X. Like, why would P90X? Why would an exercise program? There was something about it because she had never worked that hard, that long. And the whole thing about the norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, brain-derived neurotropic factor, it's like all the things that happen inside of your brain that improve the quality of your life. You know what I mean? It's just exercise science. Like John Rady, a professor from Harvard, wrote a book on it called Spark. You know what I mean? You work out hard and you breathe hard, it changes your noggin. And so it completely changed her perspective about her life. And she is now met another man, madly in love. She's the big inspiration with the family. Like there are more people within the family that exercise regularly now who never did it at all before because of her in this program.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like
chain reaction.
Chain reaction.
That's great.
And I get, still 16 years later, I still get 5 or 6 of those a week.
Wow.
I mean, there's
great.
no media spend. There's not like P90. And I have a challenge group on Facebook. It's got 6,000 people in it, all doing P90X.
Amazing.
Why are they still doing that? Because no one else has really duplicated it yet. I mean, there's boxing workouts and there's
People have
weightlifting.
tried, but it's missing the formula. It's missing you.
They don't have me, man.
That's right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
$20 more.
Hello, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, I'm going to ruin your damn arrows, man. I'm hitting a rock. All right, come on. That's more like it. That's more like it.
So everyone knows you as the guy who created P90X, biggest workout program in the world. What a lot of people don't know is that you come from very humble beginnings. Where did you grow up?
Well, depends. I grew up I had 6 different homes before 5th grade. So it was Rhode Island. I was born in a place called Westerly, Rhode Island. And Westerly, and then Fort Knox, Kentucky, then Honolulu, Hawaii, then Rowayton, Connecticut, then Syracuse, New York, and then Trumbull, Connecticut. I might have forgotten one. So my father was in the military. I was an Army brat, and then he would change with jobs. He was in the plastics industry. He was an engineer, and so we moved a lot. You know what I mean? And so I also had a speech impediment as a kid called cluttering, and I probably had ADD and ADHD and LMNOP and I had it all. I had all the acronyms pretty much. So, and I was a small kid. I wasn't an athletic kid. So. But yeah, I'm a New Englander. I still say that. I was born in Rhode Island. Most of my family's in Rhode Island, but I was kind of raised from 5th grade up through high school in a place called Trumbull, Connecticut. So I kind of say I have 2 hometowns.
And was fitness a part of your family? Like, did you see your parents working out when you were a kid, or how did that?
Oh my God,
no.
I would watch my mother watch Jack LaLanne on TV, and she would do some of the stuff, like my grandmother, my father's mother, and she would do the Jack LaLanne stuff. And I would watch. I thought it was kind of silly.
Yeah.
My father, though, was a super jock when he was a kid. And he was a natural athlete. He played football, basketball, and baseball. And he was recruited by the New York Giants to throw pitches. He was a pitcher,
Oh, wow.
He threw heat. Either he struck you out or knocked you out. That's how my father threw balls. So everybody was in there like, oh my God. Well, Horton's a maniac, So I had that background, but my grandfather pushed my father so hard that he just despised the whole training aspect of exercise. So his philosophy was to do the opposite. He just left me alone, And the only team that I made was the high school football team my senior year, because I came into high school with a broken tibia and fibula. So I couldn't play any sports that first year, and then I played intramural sports, some tennis. I went out for the tennis team, didn't make it. I was just sort of a wannabe athlete because I didn't have good coaches and mentors and teachers, and my father left me alone. So, but I was a fan of sports. I mean, I loved watching baseball and hockey and soccer, not soccer so much, but football and basketball. I was a big basketball fan. I loved the New York Knicks, you know what I mean, and the Mets, and the Jets. It was the Jets, Mets, and Knicks were my teams, because we grew up in Connecticut, but we were down in the panhandle of Connecticut, so we got the New York feed. So it was all about the New York teams. But,
so what did you want to be as a kid?
Did you
have a thing like, I want to be on TV when I grow up?
Oh, no.
Teaching people to work out? Or did you want to be a fighter pilot? Or,
No, man. You know what? I had so little ambition as a kid. I was a huge procrastinator. And because I wasn't a great student, and because I struggled so much in school, I was pretty much just scared to death most of the time. And I was just trying to survive from moment to moment. I was just trying to get through the day. Try not to get my lunch money stolen or beat up at the bus stop, or, getting another D+ on a test. It was really sort of, I was in pure survival mode until maybe through the end of high school, I began to get my act together. I was in the theater arts department, and I was in a couple of plays, and my confidence was growing a little bit, and I was petrified of women, petrified. Like some girl tried to hold my hand in junior high school. I don't think I ever told this story before. And I panicked. I started crying. Some girl tried to hold my hand. I mean, she was awesome and she was beautiful. I didn't know what to say to her, you know. So I was a weird little kid. Yeah.
And what were your later teenage years like?
Well, you know,
did you want to go to college, or what did you want to do?
You know, I had a sense of humor early on, and a sense of humor was how I got by. I could always turn a phrase, and I was pretty good with sarcasm, and I could do a couple of pretty pathetic impressions, and I knew a couple of jokes, and that was my way of surviving. Because when you've got a speech thing, right, when it's really hard for you to get a sentence out, it's like a lot of those singers that you see that that have these horrible speech impediments, but when they sing, they sound like angels.
Yeah.
And for me, like when I took on a role or I told a joke, it went away. And so that's what I was able to do, and that's how I attracted other people and women or girls at that point. And so it really was my sense of humor, and that was my parents. You know, they didn't have that. They weren't. There was nobody in my family that had that. I don't know why. Somehow, I could always see things that were funny. I could always turn a phrase, like I said, and that's how I survived for a long time. And then, later on, I remember I had a conversation with my uncle, my father's brother, on his wedding day, and I was going off to the University of Rhode Island, going off to college, and my Uncle John said, I know you've had a tough time in high school, and it's been kind of rough for you, I talked to your parents about it, and I really respected and liked this guy. He was really sharp. He went to UPenn, he was an intellectual, and he was having this conversation with me, of all people, on his wedding day. So I took it very seriously, and he said, forget about what happened to you in elementary school or junior high school or high school. You're going off to college. This is a completely different place. It's a completely new town. I want you to just lay low, and try to reinvent yourself, because you can. And that's kind of what I did. You know what I mean? I kind of came in with some manufactured swagger.
That's what I was doing when I was that age. I was like looking at surfer guys and be like, okay, that's a cool bracelet. I'll try that.
Exactly. Exactly right. So, and when I went to URI, I didn't have to work so hard. People were kind of drawn to me, because at that point I had sort of created a persona that I was comfortable in. It was, there was still this insecure kid, but at the same time there was this other kid that was like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to meet some new friends. And I was very fortunate that my tribe, my early friendships, were really great guys, and they didn't judge me, and we just had a lot of fun, and we would drink our beers and smoke our pot and hang out and go to basketball games. And my grade point average was not great, but it was enough to get me through school. You know what I mean? I finally hunkered down. And in college you get to pick courses that interest you. So that's what I got away from reading, writing, and arithmetic, and I took some courses that I enjoyed, that I would show up to class for and actually study. So, but the funny thing was, I never graduated because I didn't do great in every class, and I was 4 or 6 credits short by my senior year, and a friend of mine called me and said, hey, I want to go to California for the summer in 1980, and I thought, okay, I'll go do that, and I'll come back and I'll finish these 6 classes, and I'll get married and have kids and move to Boston or something. And I came out here, and hello, you live here too. This place is a land of opportunity. It was for me almost immediately. I mean, I should say, I had the enthusiasm to kind of begin to figure things out here, because I fell in love with the place.
Okay.
I mean, and there weren't, back in Rhode Island or Connecticut, there weren't gyms on every corner. They're here all over the place. And back there in those days, in the 70s and 80s, the gym was at the high school or was at the college university. It wasn't, on the corner there, and there was bodybuilding gyms here, and aerobic gyms and yoga gyms and all kinds of different things. So I fell in love with the culture immediately. I'm playing volleyball on a Saturday, and then, by a Friday I'm up on Mount Baldy skiing. And I thought, this is pretty damn cool, this place, you know what I mean? And it was 72 and sunny every day almost, kind of like today.
Almost worth extra taxes.
Yeah. So, but, I was broke, flat broke. I'd have to call my parents for money every once in a while, and they would give it to me. And they gave me about 6 months to, be done with this silliness out here. And they wanted me to come back. Then they just stopped. They said, okay, the money train's done. We're not going, and they would write me a check for $100. It wasn't like they're sending me a lot of money.
Right.
Just enough to get me through a couple of weeks.
Get you some top ramen. And
yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And when I ran out of money, I would have to, I was a street performer. One of the things that I did do back in college and high school was I took this pantomime class, from a protege of Marcel Marceau, this guy, Michael Grando. And I just fell in love with it because of the speech thing that I still had. I figured, mime, I can still perform, I can still do these funny bits. And that translated to my survival out here in California.
You were doing that on the street.
I'd have to do it on the street. I would be out of money, none. And I had rent to pay. So I'd go down to the Santa Monica Pier, the Hermosa Pier, or I'd go into Westwood, because of all these UCLA students down there. And I would throw the hat down and I'd put on the white face and the black and white outfit, and I'd get out there and I'd walk in the wind and be in the box and climb the fake ladder. And it's different when you're performing because you love it, as opposed to performing because you got to feed yourself. That's a more desperate place you're in. And especially, you'd be out there and people are making fun of you, and or they're taking your money or whatever. It's pretty brutal. But I would, I'd try to make $25. When I thought I saw $25 in the hat, that would be enough for me to get the hell out of there.
Oh, wow.
So I'd go to the corner liquor store and I would buy some Cheerios and yogurt, vanilla yogurt, and I would live on that 3 meals, 3 meals a day. I'm not just that.
Cheerios and yogurt. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you'd get up and mime it again when you...
I'd go again, or I would build a box, or I'd get a gig. There was a company that I worked with for a while where I was a frozen statue, and they would hire me to be in a store window. Or there was a lot. We'd all hop on a bus and we'd go out to Vegas, and I'd be on a table, right, a big serving table. I'd be up there as an Indian or as a fireman or as whatever.
Oh,
know what I
wow.
mean? And I would be frozen, and we looked like actual statues. And the idea was, as people were going through the buffet line, and there was like 5 or 6 of us on the table with the food.
Oh, wow. How often are you allowed to move?
Well, you were supposed to not move for about the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because they wanted people to kind of, come
and are
in.
you in an actual pose?
Yeah, well, we had to be in a
boner.
position where we were, yeah, I mean, seriously, you could be. But, just like that or whatever. And then you would turn down, you could say shit like, try the lobster, you know what I mean?
You were allowed to do that? Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
After the 30-minute mark.
Did you get to eat the buffet for free?
Yeah, afterward,
Yeah.
you'd have
Yeah.
to do the gig first.
Yeah.
One of the jobs that I got hired a lot to do was during the Oscars, I would be an Oscar. So they would put me in a gold lame, skin-tight, neoprene outfit. I mean, there was a zipper in the back, and there were
the head?
2 little slits.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the whole thing was just a zipper, and then you would hold the sword. And it would be me on the stage and be another actor on the other stage, and we would have to not move for the longest time. And there was this one guy that they worked with me, and you could see him start to, and I go, psst, psst, stand up, oh yeah, damn it.
And that was during the Oscars, or
No,
during
it would be like a
awards,
big Oscar party in
banquets?
Vegas where they would
got
they
it.
would come in like executives from Kodak or from where
Yeah,
some
bring
big,
in the high rollers.
the high rollers would all come
something
in,
to do.
and we'd be there, and we wouldn't be able to move. And the only thing we were supposed to do then would just be, right? He moved, it moved, and then everybody would sit and they wait me. And then by the end of the night, we're doing all kinds of stuff. We're twirling the sword around. But yeah, so I mean, that's how I survived, man. And fortunately for me, because I was a member of Gold's Gym and a place called Mesoplex and a couple of yoga studios, because that's where all the girls were. That's how I learned how to train folks. One of the many jobs, other than being a carpenter or a handyman or a plumber or whatever else I was doing, all these odd different things, tending bar, waiting tables, manager of the Oak Tree men's clothing store. I mean, I had all these different crazy jobs. But I was going to the gym and I was learning a lot. I wasn't taking kinesiology classes and I wasn't learning about exercise science, but I was learning about how people would go in there and how some would succeed and how others wouldn't. So I was watching some of the other trainers, and I was watching why some of them were successful and other ones weren't. And I thought, wow, they're all, there was a certain formula that I was able to kind of create. And I was just exercising with buddies. Like, they were noticing my physical transformation, and they weren't getting that kind of transformation. And I said, you guys, you're doing the same thing. You're coming in doing the same machines. You're doing it the same way. You need more variety, right? You got to go to yoga class. You got to go to an aerobics class. You got, today is just chest and back or legs, whatever it is. And so for me, because I had the attention span of a gnat on crack, you know what I mean? I just was so curious, and I just wanted to be as fit as I possibly could be. And I learned early on that if you kept doing the same things over and over again, you're not going to get the result that you wanted. So I was just showing friends initially what to do. And then they were getting results, right? So one of the many jobs that I got early on was as a runner for Julia Phillips. Julia Phillips produced Close Encounter of the Third Kind, Taxi Driver, and The Sting with Robert Redford, Paul Newman. And her partner at that time was a guy by the name of Harlan Goodman. And Harlan used to be in the music industry, right? So he used to work for a company called East End Management. And he wanted to, he wanted to spread his wings. He wanted to go make movies. So he and Julia hooked up. And I was their PA, their production assistant. And, during that time, I was beginning to get in some pretty crazy shape. And Harlan noticed. And the job was super stressful. I mean, these two were just, at rope's end every day. I'm feeding the cat, and I'm making water, and I'm making coffee, and I'm delivering scripts. And, whatever, changing light bulbs, whatever they would give me to do, And Harlan says, you're looking more jacked and you're more fit. I said, I'm going to this gym and that gym. And can you show me how to do it? So he was my first paid client. He goes, what do you want to charge me? I said, I don't know, $15 a session? I don't know, sounds good. You're already paying me to do this gig. I mean, I don't know what to charge you. So he and I would get up in the morning before we went over to, the production company over on the Fox lot. And we work out in a buddy's garage. And he lost 40 pounds. And he got super lean, and he looked as good as he ever did, better than he did in high school. And so I went, oh, wow, if I can train Harlan, I'll train, a couple other people on the lot. And I met this doctor and his wife, and I started training them, and all of a sudden I had 4 or 5 clients.
And no degree?
No degree, not certified,
wow.
just purely based on what I was learning and what I was seeing and how I was getting results. So it worked for me.
Do you ever get any clients that see you on the buffet, and they're like... I want those abs. Fuck the life.
No, I don't know. I probably had too much makeup on and costume on for them to notice. But so I started training Harlan, and I got him in great shape. And then I thought to myself, do I still need to be a carpenter and a handyman and work retail and wait tables and do all that? Maybe I could be a trainer. So then I just picked up a lot more books. So I was self-taught. And I call it the Abe Lincoln technique, and I just figured it out on my own before getting a certification from anybody. And Harlan was walking down the hall, so he quit the whole movie making thing because it didn't work out. Because Julia was pretty tough to work for, as we both knew. And he was walking down the hall. He went back to East End Management, and Tom Petty was walking down the hall. And I talk about this in my book too. But and Tom sees Harlan, and Tom's from Gainesville, Florida. He says, Harlan, you look incredible. What happened to you? He goes, well, I'm working out. Damn, I've never worked out, but I'm going on tour. As you know, I'm going in 4 months, and I'm fat. Like, nobody likes a fat rocker, so you got to get me in shape. And he says, well, I can't do it. I said, I got a guy. I'll give you his phone number. So Harlan gives Tom Petty my phone number. And a day or two later, the phone rings. My roommate picks it up. My roommate, who's my best man at my wedding, Bob Hennessy. Hey, it's Tom Petty. I'm looking for Tony Horton. And Bob pulls you up. Dude, I think it's Perpich downstairs. Like one of my practical joke friends. He says he's Tom Petty. I go, dude, hang up the phone. Tom Petty's not calling up my house. Click, So
do you think Tom Petty gets that a lot?
Yeah, I don't think he ever gets that. I don't think Tom ever got that before.
Yeah.
So the fifth foot. Hey, I think we got disconnected. It's Tom Petty. So Bob looks at me and goes, dude, I think this is really Tom Petty. What? Hello. Hi, I'm Tom Petty. I'm a friend of Harlan's. You got him in great shape. I'm going on tour. I got to get in shape. Can you come to my house? Train my wife and I. And it was just one of those it's like one of those tipping points in your life, right? As you rarely get, you're lucky some people don't get them, but I did. And so the next day I went to Tom's house, and he's, I walk in, stunning house, and Sherman Oaks, and gold records on the wall everywhere, and he comes in, smoking a cigarette, puts it out, He goes, I don't know about this fitness thing, but I'm all in, I got to get in shape. So I had him for 4 months, and it was, the first 2 months were kind of brutal because he was learning from scratch, right?
Oh, wow, never worked out
Right,
before.
so no certifications, no whatsoever, and I thought to myself, I cannot hurt this guy. This guy's got to get results. This is super important because his management company is like, who the hell is this? Like they just, there was a lot of, tell me who you are and what have you done and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it I just made up, because I didn't want to screw the gig. And I started really slow with them. I mean, really light weights. And I knew what to do. I've been doing it for, a couple of years at that point. And he'd started out with 8-pound dumbbells, bench pressing, right? And the first time I gave him the dumbbells, he's laying on his back and his arms go, right? I go, whoa, So no time, it goes like this. I put him on the old life cycle. I got him a bench, I got him a heavy bag, I got him some dumbbells, I got him a stationary bike, just to start off. He had a little tiny space, and so I got all that stuff for him. And he was on level one. He was on level 1 on the life cycle for 1 minute and 23 seconds and ran out of gas. So I just turned it off, took all the tension out. Oh yeah, that's better without the tension. By the end, I had him on that thing for 25 minutes at level 6, level 7. I mean, a massive, massive improvement. And at the end, he was bench pressing 45s, right? Curling 30s. And because he's an ectomorph, he's a skinny little dude, he's naturally thin, he just got results really quick. He had a little pot belly, that disappeared pretty fast. And he ate pretty clean. I got him to eat better. I mean, that's how the whole thing started. I mean,
Did you try to get him to quit smoking?
No.
That wasn't.
No, I couldn't.
No.
Because I'm not giving up the cigarette. Because I don't smoke that often. But you think about it, even with the cigarettes, he improved. I mean, he was awesome on that heavy bag. I mean, he beat the shit out of that thing. And, I knew the basics. I knew jab, cross, kick, side kick, back kick, spin kicks, spin punches and things like that. He was a quick study because he wanted it badly. And I had a whole 4 months with him. So, yeah, that's how, and then everything, that's really the tipping point for me. That's how my whole life changed.
People hear you're working with Tom Petty and they want a piece of that, or did they see the results or a little?
Well, yeah, I mean, they saw the guy on stage with just a vest on. Like he never went on stage with just a vest on or a tank top on. And he's jacked. I mean, he was vascular and striated. And his voice was amazing and his stamina was amazing because keep in mind, the first time I got him on a life cycle, he lasted for 1 minute and 23 seconds.
Right, so how does he make it
So
through
now
a
he's
whole
doing
show?
25.
Probably sitting on a stool or something.
Yeah,
like
a
that
lot
in
of times the
past.
guy, the tour's long, they end up on a stool, right? So the rest of the band was pissed off because the sets were longer, But, and so right after that, Tom, Billy Idol called and Annie Lennox called and Bruce Springsteen called.
Billy Idol just called your house because this is pre.
Billy called my house
days,
directly.
right? Pre-email.
Yeah. There was no texting. There was no email. It didn't exist. I mean, this is late '80s.
So you want to interest someone, you would give them someone's phone number.
Yeah.
Like, hey, give them a call. Maybe tell them.
Tom and Billy had the same management company.
Okay.
So the people at East End Management just said, Billy, I guess, saw Tom's results, and everybody at the office said, you got to call this Tony Horton guy because look what happened to Tom. And so then, hello, right, mate. It's Billy Idol. Yeah, man. I mean, I can't say everything that he said, but what the F, man? I mean, effing, Tom Petty looks amazing, mate. Can you come over? So, right, and I did, you know what I mean? And so I went over to Billy's house, and I trained Billy every Monday through Friday for 5 years. I saw him Monday through Friday.
5 days a week?
5 days. I was at his house Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 days a week. He was totally committed. And I got him, Tom was lean.
Yeah.
But Billy had a little mesomorph in him. He had a little, he was more of a, he built muscle a little easier than Tom did. And he was into it. And he used to own Stevie Nicks' place. So he moved, so his compound was his main house. There's this cool cul-de-sac in the middle with this beautiful tree in the middle. And then what used to be sort of her library, we just knocked down all the walls and we built his gym. And he had enough space where he had a treadmill and a heavy bag and a stationary bike and a big bench and more bells and whistles, so we could kind of do more there. And upstairs was his studio, so he had his gym down below and his studio up above. And same thing, I had quite a bit of time with him and I got him super strong,
Oh, wow. And did that lead to Bruce Springsteen? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, the Bruce Springsteen was another angle, actually. My roommate at that time was his PA. And I think they had just gotten rid of their trainer. And Tom, my friend, said to Bruce, I don't know if you know about Tony Horton, but he's trained Billy. He got him in shape. He got Tom in shape. And so when I first went to the house, Bruce didn't work out with me. His wife did. Patty Scialfa. So it was kind of Patty's thing, right? So I mean, this is how the story goes. It's kind of trippy, but so I trained, because they're only in town periodically. They live in Jersey, you know what I mean? But they have a nice little spot here in LA.
And sorry to interrupt, but would you go on tour with these guys as well?
I went
on
tour
during the partying times. And
yeah, I went on tour with Tom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when partway through that first tour, after I got him in shape, he called my parents' house. I was there for the 4th of July weekend, I don't know. I did not give Tom my parents' phone number. But he called up my parents' house, and my mother, Tom Petty's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. Uh-oh, I didn't know what went on. Hey, Tony, I'm getting out of shape. You got to come on tour with us. You want to come? And I said yes. Excuse me, immediately. And, I can't tell at least 60% of those stories. But I was on the bus with him and his wife and his 2 kids and their bodyguard, and the rest of the band was on another bus. And we went from town. I was there for the New York, Long Island, New Jersey part of that tour. So I was there at Madison Square Garden. I was all over Long Island with him.
Give us one story.
Oh man.
I mean, being on tour with Tom Petty, that's so legendary.
You know what? There weren't that many crazy stories, but I will say this. When you come off the bus and you've got your laminate on, it's really easy to have people, you meet people. Right? Who are you? I'm Tom Petty's trainer. Here's the key to my room. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it was
yeah.
that kind
wow.
of thing.
Wow.
So I mean, and I was not, at that point in the game, I was fortunately not dating anybody. I was pretty monogamous when I was in a relationship, and it was happened to be a point when I was single. And so there was some wild stuff, some wild adventures there.
And you were shy before that, so
super
it must have
shy.
been,
Super shy, and I was still shy even then. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like when I met a girl, it was a whole courtship thing. I was old school that way.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And I still got turned down a lot. You know what I mean? I was kind of fit. The fitness was attractive to women, but by the way, and my humor worked. So I was a fit guy who was funny, but I was broke. You know what I mean? Like And
you're like, hang on, babe, I gotta go mime for a minute.
Yeah.
Then
Well,
we're gonna go out to dinner.
I mean, I'm training all these celebrities, but I mean, I still live in a 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the convalescent home. You know what I mean? I have a rundown old Mustang and a beat up old Land Cruiser. The reason why I had 2 cars is because I'm driving all over LA, and one would break down. I'd have to have the other one to drive around, because I couldn't afford to rent a car. And so it was just kind of hand to mouth, still. And I was still in debt. I had credit card debt up to my eyeballs, So even though, I was fit and I was funny, a lot of women looked at me like, oh, look where you live. You know what I mean? I know you hang out with Tom Petty and Billy Idol, Annie Lennox, and all these people, but you seem to be kind of poor for me to hang out with. But so, when you're on tour, nobody knows any of that.
Yeah.
They just know that you're the guy with the laminate who's hanging out with the band. And so, yeah, you got to meet some gals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to train Bruce's wife at his house.
Yep.
And he didn't want a part of it, or was that your test?
He had his own guy. His
okay.
own guy. His name was Tony. His trainer was named Tony as well. And he was very happy with his trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come into town for a week or 2 or maybe 3 at the most, and I would train her. And usually when I went to the house, I'd peek my head into the kitchen, you know what I mean? And she'd be coming out, and it'd be like, "Hey, Bruce." "Hey, Tony, how you doing?" Tom. Not Bruce. Hey, Tony. And that was it. I shook his hand once. And then after about a year or so, and this is when my first, then now I'm on television, right? Now I'm on in the middle of the night, and I'm on, every channel on earth.
Okay.
And the story was, and every time they came to town, I'd always want to go to the show. So I'd call my roommate, who was their assistant. "Hey, dude, can I get tickets?" He was at the Staples Center back, not Staples Center, like the Great Western Forum,
Yeah,
where the Lakers used to play or
Yeah.
something. And so, I always got amazing seats, and you just sit there and think, "Oh my God, this guy's insane. He's amazing. He's just such an amazing performer, And so, but at the same time, my infomercial's running. And so Tom, my roommate, says, well, the story goes, so I show up at the house, for Patty's workout, and she's in street clothes, which usually means, she forgot to call me or whatever. And I still got paid. They were very generous that way. But, to go all that way to their house and have to go all the way home. And so she comes out and she says, "Hey, I can't train today, but Bruce wants to know if it's okay for him to work out with you." I'm thinking, wow, after like a year and a half, this is okay. Yeah, sure, of course it is, right? So their property, the way it's set up is they have a main house, and there's a little path to kind of a 4-car garage, which is converted into a gym. And we're kind of walking through the woods. There's a little path through the woods. And he's got his workout book, right? It's like you could tell, it's just covered in blood, sweat, and tears, this thing, you know what I mean? It's like you can see the pages have been worn down to a nub. And he brings it with him, and I think he was probably exercising on his own. So we're walking through the woods, and he goes, "Hey, after the show last night," and then I said, which, by the way, you're insane. You're amazing. Just amazing. I'm just so enjoyable. He goes, "Yeah, well, Patty and I got in bed, and we turned on the TV, and there you are." So I turned to her, and I said, "Hey, there's Tony." And I think that was before P90X. I think it was Power 90, the program before.
Okay.
And so he basically asked Patty for permission if he could work out with me the next day. And so It was
Like
just
TV
so
cred,
television, like like he knew me. I was in the house. Patty was
Yeah.
getting in great shape. He liked me.
Everyone
but
likes the
then
TV
I got my
star.
guy. You know what I mean? Then he sees me on the tube, and it's like, yeah, I want to check that guy out.
Oh yeah.
And so then I mean, I went in and he goes, okay, today's chest and back or shoulders and arms, whatever. And I said, and I took his little book and I said, you want to try some new stuff? I said, it sounds like you've got a routine and you like it. How's your flexibility? How's your cardiovascular health? Do you wear a heart monitor? I asked him some basic things, Oh, no. So I said, let's try some new stuff. And he looked at me like, like I don't think people do that to Bruce very often. You know what I mean? And he went, all right. And I put him through the stretch profile. We did a little bit of yoga. I wound him up on the treadmill, and I told him about a heart monitor, and of course he wanted one. And I saw him every day for a couple of weeks there for a while. And then, they went off and went back to Jersey or went on tour or whatever. And I would see him periodically. But I was supposed to actually go on tour with Bruce, but it was a 6-month obligation. And I was acting at that point. I was going on commercials, and I would have had to abandon everybody else. And I didn't want to just hand him some other trainer. You know what I mean? They were all Tom and Annie Lennox and Shirley MacLaine, and these other folks were sort of, very used to me. So I turned down that Bruce Springsteen tour. Who knows what that could have led to, but.
And what was it like training Shirley MacLaine?
Oh my God, dude.
That
Oh
was
my
dark.
God. I mean, she's a Hollywood legend.
Yeah.
Okay, she's part of the Rat Pack. One of the most vibrant, interesting, smart, funny, NC-17 rated woman I have ever met in my life, man. I mean, just it was like a show every time I hung out with her, you know what I mean? I mean, she told some stories, man, that I can't tell. I don't know. I mean, if no one's going to see this, right?
No one's going to see this. You can just share it all. It's just you and I in the living room.
Well, her. Oh my God! I've never told this story on camera, and I'm going to have to tone it down a little bit just because I'll lose 90% of my fan base, and no one will buy my supplements. So her brother Warren Beatty was trying to do Dick Tracy, right? This movie, and he'd like to produce it himself and direct it and star in it and everything else. And so he didn't. I don't know if I'm getting the story exactly right because it was so long ago, but he was trying to make this movie, and he wanted a star, but at asking price. I mean, everybody has their asking price, and so Madonna was kind of up and coming at that point, right? And he said, well, he was telling Shirley, like, and this is her saying this whole thing to me. And she loved to tell stories. Oh my God, the stories that she told, and I wish I had them all written down or recorded, but this is before the phone. And so he says, what about this Madonna gal? What if I get her? And Shirley MacLaine says, yeah, you don't want to do that. I hear she's hard to work with, something along those lines. And he says, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get her to be in it. So he started, dating her. And so then he said, so hey, you want to be in this movie I'm doing now that we're dating? And she agreed to it for maybe a less. I'm going to get in trouble now. It's like if somebody watches this thing. Anyway, so he gets Madonna. Here's how he gets Madonna to get in the movie. He decides to have a little dinner party at his house, right? So he puts on if Warren Beatty or Shirley MacLaine or Madonna sees this, they're going to go, that's not true. But this is how I remember it. Okay, so leave me alone. So he gets a bunch of food catered, and he puts it in pots and pans in the kitchen as if he cooked it. And he's got the Kiss the Chef bib on and the hat on. And I don't know, there's 10 people in his dining room. And he says to Shirley MacLaine, I want you to sit next to Madonna and entertain her and talk to her. And so, oh my God. So I guess apparently Shirley is getting perturbed by a lot of what the conversation is. And she used some salty language to describe her feeling about that. And so he's coming in with all this food, right? He's plopping it down on the table, and he comes in with this huge tray with a cloth over the top of it, and he plops it down on the dining room table. And Madonna says, "What's under the cloth?" And Warren Beatty says, "Corn on the cob." And Madonna says, "Corn on the cob?" And this is Shirley telling me this story about how the two of them are having this back and forth about corn on the cob. And Warren says, yeah, it's corn on the cob. And Madonna says, you're serving corn on the cob? And Warren Beatty says, yeah, what's wrong with corn on the cob? And Madonna says, who eats corn on the cob? And Warren Beatty says, what do you mean who eats corn on the cob? What country did you grow up in? It's America, it's corn on the cob. She goes, I cannot believe you're serving corn on the cob. And so Warren Beatty says to her, why? Wow, it's corn on the cob. And so Shirley says, while this is going back and forth about corn on the cob, Shirley MacLaine says, she takes the cloth, she picks it up, she grabs one, she turns to Madonna and says, if you say corn on the cob one more time, this one is going right up your fill in the blank.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
Corn
So that's it. Thank you very much. That's the end of my career.
All right.
That's it.
And Madonna, Warren Beatty, Shirley, thank you for doing earmuffs during that story.
Yes, thank you for that was a fictional story. I was just trying to.
Oh man, that must have been so interesting being behind the scenes in a lot of these lives of some of these.
Well, like with
well-known
Billy,
people
you
on
know,
Earth.
Billy invited me to his home for parties and things. You know, there's a Billy Idol story which I don't think he would care about, which was just awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so we had a routine, right? So he had this gate, this green gate. So when you came up his driveway, you could see part of the house because the house was, you know, protected because of this gate and then this gate that opened up, and there a fence and then the gate. So I would hit the code, and he knew when I was there because he had security cameras. He could hear the gate open up. And so some of the time, you could see his spiky hair come down. I could see his spiky hair come down the stairs, and the gate would open, and he'd flip me the bird. He'd stand in front of the car, and he'd flip me the bird, and then I would flip him the bird. And we would do that until I pulled up right next to him, and then he would pivot, so he'd end up here at the driver's seat, and he'd still be holding the bird, and I wouldn't look at him. So as my window went down, my bird went up. My bird would go up, and so we were like bird to bird, right? And he'd lean in the car. You kind of look around. You go, "No, Horton, you showed up. Was it shoulders and triceps today?" And I go, "Yes, it is." And then, so, you know, and then we go about our business. But sometimes I would hit the code, and then if he didn't come out, I would have to ring the bell and go get him. And so on this particular case, he had a visitor, a young lady, and I rang the bell and I opened the door, and there she was, and she was naked. And so it's like, oh boy, rock and roll, what a cool life. And so I'm trying to figure out where to look, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Billy's not ready yet, would you like to come in? All right. So, you know, I come in and we go into the kitchen, you know, and she goes, you want some water? And I'm having a conversation with a naked girl in this kitchen, and I'm drinking water like, you know, we're talking about Pilates or something. I don't know what we're talking about. And so the way his house is set up is while you're in the kitchen, you can look down the hall to where his bedroom is, and I can see him coming down the hall, like making all these crazy gestures that I can't do here. And it's like oh, blah, blah. Like he's just so happy that he, you know, sprung this naked girl on me. And he comes into the kitchen like, you know, he's doing all this crazy stuff, and he comes in the kitchen. Oh, right, well, you met Shirley, or whatever, Sally, whatever her name was. I said, yeah, and he looks at me and goes, nice girl. I go, yeah, seems to be very nice. So we go outside to close the door, and he looks at me and he goes, rock and roll, man, friggin' hell, great, right? I mean, come on, look at that, you know? I mean, it was just, you know.
That's a life.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was so much better than doing mime at the pier and waiting tables, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that was way high. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good. Oh, yeah. Nice.
So at this point, you're on TV. Now, did someone put you in a workout program with no degree, no training certificate?
The first when we first did the first thing that we did over at Beachbody was something called Great Body Guaranteed, and I didn't have any certifications whatsoever yet. Plain and simple, you know. But then, you know, people over there, including the CEO of the company, said, hey, you know, we have to kind of, people are inquiring, like, what's your background? Like, who are you? Like, why are you, like, who is this guy, you know, out of nowhere? Why do we trust this guy? So I went and got my first, you know, general certification. I did the whole kinesiology thing and exercise science thing and learned about, basic fitness.
Gotcha.
And took the test, passed the test, and that was that,
Okay.
But half the stuff that was on, on that agenda for me to read was ancient. Like a lot of the certification at that time
It was just stuff that you knew just as a basic.
Yeah, it was like,
fitness
oh my
guy.
God, I wouldn't train anybody like this. I wouldn't
Gotcha.
do this. I wouldn't, what if I don't have this machine? Or what about this
Yeah.
particular exercise injures people? It was just archaic.
And you had to develop something that worked because you were doing that for a living.
I was the original guinea pig.
That's
Then
what I
my
mean,
friends
yeah,
were the
you
original guinea
needed to
pig. Then
have
Harlan
that
was the next
six-pack
guinea
abs.
pig.
Okay.
Tom Petty was really my first celebrity guinea pig. But I was training doctors and lawyers, and I was driving all over town training everybody at that point. And my goal early on was to make the whole process fun, to give people a ton of variety so they don't get hurt, they don't get bored, and they don't plateau. So most people quit exercising or stop exercising or say that exercise doesn't work for them because they get bored, they get hurt, and they plateau. And so if you give enough variety to somebody, if you make it kind of fun, if you try to keep their expectations down, right, or give them realistic expectations, and you also tell them, one of the things is you're too attached to the aesthetic outcome too soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's just tape, like, let me tell you, I had Tom Petty for 4 months and I saw him 5 days a week. I saw Billy Idol 5 days a week. And things don't start happening. And for a lot of people, we got different body types, ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. You know what I mean? You got big people, skinny people, people who build muscle. A lot of it has to do with your genetics. A lot of it has to do with your pain threshold. A lot of it has to do with your diet. A lot of it has to do with the barometric pressure in the room when you're exercising, you know what I mean? And so, let's all keep these things in mind. Let's keep our expectations realistic. And let's just show up every day, because every day you exercise, you're going to feel better. So let's just focus on that. Let's focus on the quality of your life, your cognition, your memory, your sex drive, like all these things that improve the minute you're done. You know what I mean? Like, you do a yoga routine, who you are before and who you are after are completely different people, and that happens in an hour, all right? So you're not going to go from a size 16 to a size 6 in 3 weeks. That's just not realistic. So I was pretty good at transcending that kind of intel to people. And once they, I said, here, look, what's your reason why? And I would hear what the reason why was, and I would say, that reason why is bullshit. Because the reason why you've never had any success up to this point is because your reason is lame. You know what I mean? You care too much about breast sizes, dress sizes and the numbers on the scale and inches and all that kind, and you care too much about what other people think of you. Like, how about you start thinking about how you want to feel about yourself? All right? How about let's focus about that? And let's pretend the scale was never invented and a tape measure doesn't exist, and that your people's opinions don't matter. Because what matters is how you feel in your own skin.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how I was able to get, and none of that was in any of those books. Didn't exist. Right? And so, I created that philosophy and those techniques purely based on what worked for me, what worked for my friends, and it took all the pressure off, man. All the pressure came off, like, oh, okay, here's your reason why. It improves the quality of your life, it improves your energy and enthusiasm for your life, it cleans out your brain, it's miracle grow for your brain. You're just gonna, you're gonna be less stressed out. You're gonna feel better about yourself. And by the way, you're gonna lose a bunch of weight and look amazing. Maybe in 2 months, maybe in 3, maybe in 4, maybe in 6. I don't know. Who cares, right? Right now you're doing everything that you can to survive. Oh, big deal, yippee. Everybody else is doing that. You want to thrive? Thriving is showing up, eating right. Period. Because that's the foundation of who you should be.
Yeah.
As opposed to money or stuff or your hot girlfriend or the bullshit that people, blow up your skirt. You know what I mean? So let's focus on just feeling really good in your own skin. To me, it's about joy and happiness as much as possible. That's what exercise really is. Because when you do eventually lose the weight and you do fit into clothing that looks really nice and you have all this energy, enthusiasm for life, and you can do stuff, because when you're out of shape, you can't do things. So you have to fill in the blank with whatever, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll. I don't know what it is. You have to fill it in with something else because you can't physically do things. Now you can go on bike rides. Now you can go rock climb. Now you can go heli ski. Now you can go, go to Kilimanjaro. Now you can go take a bike ride in France. Now you can expand your life and build awesome memories. That's what fitness is. That's what eating right is. It's just all that.
And is that where the 90 days came about, to get them to do a 90-day commitment to that, or
the CEO of Beachbody said, "How long will it take?" I said, "Dude, it's going to take 3 months." And for some people, it's going to take 4. I had to give some kind of time frame. So yeah, because we weren't here to tell. And these workouts have to be hard, and they got to be 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, because it was an intense program, right? How many days a week does it?
6.
Just 6 days a week.
6
of hard workouts.
No one had ever done that before.
Yeah, the other infomercials are like 8-minute abs and squeeze.
Not that there's anything wrong with
your
that.
thigh master.
Which I was in that commercial, by the way. I was
in the 8 Minute Abs.
No, I was in the Thigh Master commercial.
Oh, no way.
Using the Thigh Master as a way to.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's my first acting gig.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so P90X, you put it together as really the first thing on TV that says, hey, you're going to work your freaking ass off, but you're going to get results, and people really responded to that.
Shockingly, yes. Not initially, though.
Not initially.
Not initially. A lot of people saw that and were very intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Because what they saw were the before and afters of people who went through the test group. So, a lot of people thought, okay, it was a controlled group.
Okay.
You probably fed them, wheatgrass and peanuts. And they were forced to show up to these workouts. And then what was happening was the advent of the internet. I mean, the internet was sort of brand new at that point. And people were, going from videotaping like this to videotaping like this. And so we were getting all these before and after photos and stories. We were getting this videotape, these stories of people. And we didn't ask for it. We didn't, this stuff they just wanted to tell us how great it was working. So we thought to ourselves, well, let's take all that footage of the test group out, even though it was real. It happened. That's what it was. They showed up to the workout. We told them to eat right. We didn't even give them a diet plan. We just said, hey man, how about some lean protein, some vegetables, and get off the hooch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to tell people to do. And the ones that did, we used them in the infomercial. But that first year, it putted along, right? It really didn't do very well. And so we thought, well, maybe we'll break even here. Maybe we'll sell a couple 100,000 if we're lucky. And then we put in that real footage with real people, like, bad lighting and everything else.
Yeah.
And people at home went, that's me.
I can do this.
That's me. I know I'm that guy. I'm that girl. This looks like something that I would have shot in my house or in my garage or in my basement, And then, it went putt. Number one show in the country, number one media spend in the country for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And then that was 16 years ago.
And did you finally quit acting? Because you mentioned that when you were
I don't know. I mean, I did about 4 or 5.
Acting, it was a big passion for you.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did about 4 or 5 pilots, and none of them ever got picked up.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, I even financed a pilot that was called The Boardroom. That was funny. It was great, and we went to all these different studios, and they loved it, but it never got picked up. And so, I was doing stand-up comedy in the old days, along with waiting tables and tending bar and being a handyman. I was, trying to be a comic, so, which is hard as hell. But all those different skills, the acting skills and the comedy skills and all that, all those tough times added up to be the person that I am now, so that I could be on camera with a cast, transcending the message in a way that no one had ever done it before. Like people say, what was the key to that program? I said, it was a great set, it was a great cast, it was well rehearsed. It was the muscle confusion, which was a made-up term, really. It was just a word. It was just a way of saying, we're not going to do the same thing every day. It's 6 days a week, and guess what? You're going to do 6 different things in that week. And then you're going to do that again and again and again. In the 4th week, we're going to change it up. And in the 2nd month, we're going to change it again. In the 3rd month, we're going to change it again. Yeah. All right? Because boredom, injuries, plateaus. These are the things that happen to people who keep going to Pilates all the time, or keep going to yoga all the time, or keep going to spin classes all the time. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't get hurt in a spin class, but you're not going to be able to do pull-ups well or push-ups well or have strong upper body if you're just sitting on a bike. You're going to build it's heart, lungs, legs, which is awesome. If you're a skier, great. If you want to go ride your bike, great. But you want to get everything. You want to get people to work on their strengths, and you want them to definitely work on their weaknesses, and that combination is what made that thing blow up.
Yeah, I was one of those guys who was just lifting heavy for years, and I looked great. And I would do the deadlift, I would do the squats, the bench press, and then one day I got injured just dancing, popped my back up and dancing.
Wow.
And just randomly enough, while I was healing, my brother brought in a guy to our office who was a mobility trainer. And I never heard of mobility training before, and it blew my mind. I was like, wow, I shouldn't just be learning how to push a weight in one direction. I should be learning how to move my body.
Right.
And that's been a game changer for me.
Right.
Something interesting too, you mentioned how all of these skills that you had acquired and things you'd worked on was, led to the success of P90X. And I really believe also it's because you're damn entertaining. When we were talking about
that's very nice. Yeah, go on, Craig. I don't know. What was that? I don't even know what that was. Yep. Edit that out. Cut that out.
Case in point. But I mean, for real though, it's important in keeping people engaged. So I have a friend, his name's David Nyhill, and he trains speakers. And he teaches them that humor is the key to speaking success. It's not making your big point. It's not, figuring out
what to leave the audience with. It's keeping them laughing because that keeps them engaged and paying attention. And he did a study of the most popular TED Talks online. He looked at the ones that all have like, 10, 20 million views versus the crappy ones. And he was trying to figure out what they all had in common, and it was laughs. And he noticed that the most successful TED Talks had more laughs per minute than the movie The Hangover.
No kidding. Wow.
Crazy, right? And so I think that your personality was a big part of getting someone to sit through this grueling workout plan for 90 days because they wanted to be engaged,
Well, I was going to get to that, but I thought I'd let you do it.
Yeah. You can. I'll take that $20 now. That
Hold on, dude. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But I mean, something, we go on this show, it's called Greatest Stories Never Told, and we go meta sometimes and talk about telling stories. And that's something people should keep in mind. If you want to tell a story and keep people engaged, humor can be a great tool for that.
Yeah, but that's a learned talent. Some people
Sure.
hey, look, I was a kid, scared to death, massive procrastinator, terrible in school. What did I have that naturally was always there? It was this sort of a sense of humor or a need to entertain. Because when I would entertain people, they liked me. All right, when I was serious or boring or whatever else, it was like, okay, I was just some other kid in the room. But if I could make a funny voice or imitate somebody or say something silly, then all of a sudden, I'm likable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if people are laughing, they're learning, right?
That's a great
absolutely.
quote, yeah.
That's absolutely true. And because you remember those things. You remember the things like, oh my God, you know what he did? He said this, and this. And it was so funny, but they don't forget the message that's buried in that.
Because the mind is so engaged.
Exactly right.
Exactly. Now I always joke that you don't look a day over 40 because you also pay me good
Here's
money
that
to
$40
say
back.
too.
Here you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much.
No, but
and
I
the
mean-
lighting in here is gorgeous. By the way.
yeah,
I tell you know how to light a set.
That's a
Go on.
huge part of it. Yeah. But you had a health scare of your own.
Of epic proportions, yeah. Yeah, real kick in the ass that was. 2 years ago, October, I got shingles in my right ear. And a lot of times when you get shingles, you can get it anywhere. You can get it on your face, your forehead, or your back, or your shoulder, wherever, your torso. But when you get it in your ear, it's really bad because there's a lot of nerves that go into your brain. The 5th, 6th, and 7th facial nerves got destroyed. And so I ended up with Bell's palsy for a little while, which is, not so hot looking.
Makes your face
melt. You look like, my right side of my face was paralyzed and nothing
wow.
worked.
Wow.
It was like this. I had to drink out of a straw.
Oh, man.
My eye didn't blink, so I had to wear a patch. So
Whoa.
it was pretty heavy duty. And when those nerves are gone, your balance is shot. So it's not vertigo, but it's called vestibular hypofunction or bilateral vestibular hypofunction. So the shingles in your ear that kills the nerves is called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. And so when the syndrome is gone, nerves are one of those weird things that don't necessarily heal at all. And if they do heal, it takes months and years. Like you can cut yourself, you know the time frame. You're going to break bones, you know the time frame. Like you talk to a doctor and they talk about nerves and they go, so like here's the time frame for, a sprain, a bruise, a cut, broken bones. Here's the time frame for nerves. It's just, and a lot of people that have what I have are never better. They become recluse. They don't drive. The world gets really, really small. And so, so when I was initially sick, because the vestibular issue was so dramatic, I was so dizzy all the time that dizziness, like what happens when you're super dizzy, you get nauseous.
Yeah.
So you can't eat anything. So I lost 25 pounds. I slept 12 hours a night. I wouldn't call it sleep. I would just call it, I don't want to get out of this bed because I can't get out of bed. Because I get out of bed, my feet would hit the floor and I'd throw up. You know what I mean? And so when you're throwing up all the time and you're really dizzy, you can't eat. So I was drinking out of a straw. This was kind of my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And every once in a while, I would get some Rice Krispies in me or something. And it was a hideous, horrible existence, And I fell into a deep depression because I'd go see the various doctors and the otorhinolaryngologist, the ear, nose, and throat guy. And especially when I had the Bell's palsy, and he goes, well, everybody's face is atypical or asymmetrical. I go, that's great. Do you know what I do for a living? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, that's it. Okay, sell the houses, sell the cars. I'm going to have to move into a cave, and my wife's going to divorce me. I mean, I would, and I don't think I've ever said this on camera before, but I was so distraught, and there's a lot of pain. I mean, you've got shingles in your face and your ear and going into your brain. I mean, there's so much pain. I'm so nauseous. I'm so sick.
And the guy who loves to work out, now you can't.
Oh, I can't drive. I need help to get down the stairs into the kitchen. I mean, I felt like an invalid. I felt like a 90-year-old man on the verge of dying. And, and I would just crawl up into a ball and put my head on my wife's lap and just sob, man. Because I like to feel good. I like to train hard. I like to have fun. I want to go ski. I want to go, I had this really super active, awesome life that stopped on a dime, And it was a long and winding road. I mean, I'm in the best place I am, but here it is 2+ years later. And I'm on a diet right now that is super restrictive because I'm trying not to feed the viral things and the inflammatory things, right? So I don't eat spinach or onions or tomatoes or wheat or corn or dairy or whatever. I'll eat Q-tips and wheat and sawdust. I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat because I like feeling the way I feel. I'm not 100% yet. I mean, I was miserable for 2 months. 2 months. Like imagine having the worst cold in the world, the worst flu in the world, and living on the top of Mount Everest naked. That's how I felt. I was just it's hideous. I know I can't emphasize it enough. 2 months, and then I started to come out of it, like little tiny improvements where I didn't feel normal at all, but I didn't feel super miserable anymore, and that just took forever, man. It took about a year before I could kind of be semi-normal. But I'd be at a stop sign in the car. I'd go like this, and my brain would say, "Hold on a second, wah 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 wah." Okay. And I'd have to look this way for the next car in my brain. So every time any kind of quick movement, any kind of bright light, any kind of dark room, there were all kinds of variables. Oh, wow. Sound, smell. I also had a level 10 tinnitus in my ear, just like a all the time. It was just a myriad of hell that I was in.
You had to create your own plan to come out of this?
A
lot of people don't, it sounds like?
I mean, I had to go learn how to walk again. I had to go to a physical therapist to learn how to walk. You know what I mean? And she would put like crazy wrapping paper on a wall and hit it with bright light, and the floor pattern was all weird. I remember at my first gig after I still wasn't right. I had a gig in Vegas, and I had a suitcase, one with 4 wheels, a little carry-on. I had to use that as my cane to get through the casino, because I looked like a drunk on a cruise ship in a hurricane. The way I would walk, and it's embarrassing. I just assume everybody thought I was drunk, and some days sometimes it'll kick up to about a 3. Like let's say a 10 is hell. It'll kick up to a 3 or a 4 even sometimes.
Oh wow!
Which is a little reminder. And so the beautiful thing of it, though, I'm more consistent with my diet. I'm more consistent. I'm more patient than I've ever been. I'm less stressed out than I've ever been before. I did plyometrics on Christmas Day by myself.
Yeah, I got the email inviting people. You had a bunch of people on there. No one was around. Everyone was with family, and you still did it.
Still did it. Awesome. It was always important. Now it's hyper important. And now my mindfulness practice is a 10. I meditate every day. I meditate all the time. I meditate in the car. I have a men's group. I started a men's group as a result of what I went through, and we hang out together and talk about our feelings and all that kind of stuff, like dudes, like dudes will do. And so a lot about who I am as a person. I mean, my wife really, I'm less of a pain in the ass as I used to be. And, I still have my little moments where I get a little irate, but whenever I get dizzy, oh, wow, this is a sign. It's a sign. Or whenever and then excuse me, on top of that, I had Epstein-Barr is also a viral thing. And so the Epstein-Barr and the vestibular hypofunction would come together, and I would be a dead man, So the diet change, the meditation, the mindfulness, all that sort of stuff has kept it at bay for the most part. Knock on wood.
And what advice do you have to people who want to look like you do, want to stay in shape? Is it working out 6 days a week, or is it the meditation plus diet, all the above?
I have a couple of expressions. One I trademark called "do your best and forget the rest," right? So you have to wake up in the morning and decide if you want to do that. If you want to do your best today, what's your best look like? If you had to write down what your best was and what your half-ass was, you know what the difference is. So every day I try to do my best, and I try not to focus on the other things that used to get in my way. also the more you do, the better you get, right? So if you we were doing some archery down there, right? I mean, if I did that every day with you for like the next month, you and I would be getting bullseyes left and right, right?
Yeah.
So you're really good at your job because you're so focused on it. You know what I mean? I've had some meetings with you and worked with you and see what you've done, and I'm working with the people that you've hired. I mean, everybody's a rock star. I mean, you're really good at that because you've had some history with it, right? And so when it comes to your health and wellness, yeah, you can't just exercise once in a while, and you can't just eat right once in a while, and you can't just have good sleep once in a while. It's an all the time thing. It's like people say all the time. I go, all the time is 22 days a month, minimum. You got to work out 22 days a month. 15 means you took 15 days off. So you're going to end up with exercise bipolar disorder. You know what I mean? I mean, you're going to have all the benefits from exercising and working out and feeling good, and then you're going to take 2 days off. Well, what a shock! It's so hard to get back in the game again after the 4th day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the rest of your life, which just helps you survive. Now you want to thrive, right? Because you don't miss meals. You go to sleep every night, right? You go to work because you want to get paid. These are things that you automatically do all the time, and they're great because they help you live on the earth and pay your bills and not have to live in a cave. You know what I mean? So next level stuff all the time. Like my breakfast is clean. My lunch is clean. My dinner is clean. My snacks are clean. I mean, am I a freak? Am I an anomaly? Yeah, sort of. But you think I look.
You've been doing this for a long time.
I do it a long time. It's so ingrained. And then after I got sick, it turned the volume even up more. I mean, I'm more focused than ever.
Tell me the phrase again. Do your best.
Do your best and forget the rest.
Do your best and forget the rest.
Do your best.
And I love that, asking yourself when you wake up.
Yeah.
Am I going to do my best today?
Yeah.
Or is today going to be...
Day where I F off.
Yeah.
And by the way...
It's okay to probably do that once in a while.
Yeah,
but...
and you get to have downtime, and you get to go on vacation, and you get to sit and watch ball games, and you get to have a couple of beers, and you get to have a pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's a line, right? I mean, the people who are really kicking ass, look at LeBron James. The guy's, 15 years in the league. He's 36 years old, and he's a monster. Because he's and there are other guys in the league, and I work with professional athletes that are making it just purely based on their skill level, and then they have a 4-year career or 3-year career, and they're gone. You know what I mean? I mean, how bad do you want it, right? I mean, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's that song that was like the Godfather song? Birth, school, work, death. I mean, that's it. That's your journey, right? To some extent, and so. I'm 61. I hope to live to be 109. I don't know how long I'll live, but I might, I went skiing in Jackson Hole last week. And because of this extra discipline as a result of what I went through being sick, I do my legs, I work my legs, my heart, my lungs, my legs 3 times a week because I'm a skier. So I do cardio on Mondays. I do an hour cardio on 6, 7, or 8 machines. 3, 4, 5 minutes each, like just bounce around.
That's cool.
Yeah. Super. I like bike, Versaclimber, treadmill, heavy bag, rowing machine, jump rope, ski machine,
And that trains you for skiing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I'm not just on the bike.
I'm never in shape when I ski unless I do skiing.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I made the excuse that it has to be like the only skiing can work your legs.
Well, I have a ski machine, right?
Okay, got it.
That's quads, glutes, bikes, quads, right? The
Yeah.
Versaclimber's lungs, legs,
And you have an insane workout set up at your home. So you don't have that excuse that you
I
gotta
have
go to the
4
gym.
different little locations where I work out at home.
Wow.
Like the whole house is like the Willy Wonka fitness over there.
Yeah.
So.
And you organize groups, you have your friends come over and work out. And it's just it's a lifestyle thing. It's like that's and that's how it has to be.
I mean, a lot of people get up in the morning at 4:30 before they feed the kids and go down to the basement. They live in Minnesota. It's 55 degrees down there, and they do yoga or plyometrics or something. I don't know who they are, but they're superstars. You know what I mean? The other day when I did plyo by myself, I was going to go in at noon, but I ended up going in at 3. So I had a 3-hour procrastination before I dragged my ass in there. But some people are super, super hyper disciplined to do it on their own. For me, I need my tribe, man. So if the question is how do I sustain it? How do I maintain it? How am I able to do it? I said you need a purpose. Your reason has to be so rock solid. You have to seriously understand why you're doing this thing. And if it's for aesthetic reasons or for your ego, you're screwed. So it's got to be about health and wellness and feeling good and being vibrant and being a great parent and being a great citizen on earth. That's like you're better when you work out, and you're worse when you don't. I mean, it's that simple. You go into the escalator and it's out, and you got 2 heavy bags. you got to get up that son of a bitch, right? You know what I mean? Like when I see people in line to get on the escalator and there's a big pair of stairs in between, I think to myself, here's a golden opportunity to go up these things, work your legs, get your lungs working, which improves the quality of your brain. I mean, it's like there's these moments all the time, but no, they're going to stand in line and go up the escalator. Holy crap. So you want to be prepared for life because life's coming and it's unpredictable sometimes, right? So what's my purpose? I want to kick ass all the time, got to work out. That's it. I want to feel good. I want my brain to good. And my wife is younger than me, so I got to, because exercise is for your skin too. It's for your organs. It's for all the stuff on the inside,
Yeah.
And then you need a plan. You got to figure out what you're going to do and when. And it's got to be 22 days a month or more. 25 is awesome. 22 is minimum. I mean, that's your window. 22, 23,
25.
24, 25.
Right.
That's it. You do 30, you're probably overtraining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to get hurt. You need days off.
Got it.
All right. So, and then I don't have the calendar anymore, but I had it for 20 years. I had a desk calendar. I'd write down the workout and what time it was in the day. And then accountability is just your tribe. Who are you going to do it with? And if you're one of those people who can go solo, good for you. But I mean, 43 people invited to Plyo on Sundays, the Sunday workout that you're coming to soon, I hope. That's 16 people that are invited to that list. And then, the rest of the week, there's always somebody coming over to the house,
when you got
or I'm meeting them at a yoga
you can't
studio.
take that day off.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, if everybody cancels on me, 8 times out of 10, I'll just say, well, that's a sign that I should be taking the day off, and I revel in that, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, man. Show me what you're made of. This is the one right here. So now I'm going to go all Robin Hood. I'm going to split Craig's right in half there. Oh, come on.
Wow.
That was in there, right?
That's right in the center, my man.
Dang.
And we don't normally pitch on this show, but we're going to pitch now, man, because you and I have an exciting project in the works.
Because we're in business,
That's
man.
right.
We're in business together.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Power Life Nutrition.
Oh, damn. This is, I don't know what you, I'm going to get revved up right now. But we got some really, really neat things coming out. You know what I mean? And what's really been awesome about your team and the folks is that you've given me a big say in a lot of it. Like even the name, Power Life. Like we were back and forth about different things. And, I mean, I never had a marketing background, but things just, I have a general sense of what I think is cool and neat and sounds great. And Power Life is just a rocket name, and the fact that it's available, like holy smokes, that's just badass. And then picking the colors and the fonts and the photos and all of it, and the way it looks, and that's just on the outside, right? And then what's going on the inside? I mean, your Science Will and his guys and gals on his team.
Yeah, you guys have been great working together. The
really
formulas
great.
are
I mean,
so delicious and like next level compared to what else is out there on the market. I love the way you were looking at the other product lines that are out there and saying, how can we do better? How can we combine things so people don't have to take 20 different things?
Yep.
And, what are the core essentials that keep people feeling great,
Yep.
looking young,
Yep.
losing weight?
I mean, these are products that that I've obviously been as the test tube dummy here. I've been able to enjoy, and I'm noticing big differences in the gym and my strength. And at 61, it's hard to, like one of the products is we got HMBs in and everything else, some other really interesting ingredients that you don't see in combination anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of the first ones to do this with some of this product line, which is great because whey protein is whey protein in most cases, but not ours, and our Formula 4, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names of these things, but that combination, like the amount of, I'm going to go up to one of the organic farms in Central California just to go hug the broccoli and spinach. You know what I mean? Like just to see these workers and meet these folks. I'll be in Texas pretty soon, watching this stuff come off the line. It's just a really neat thing. And this is something I've always really wanted to do. And, in the past, there's been some pretty decent supplements that I'm pretty good at, running around trying to find something that works for me. But now this is sort of custom made for me and for a clientele similar to me.
Yes.
I mean, that
People
crowd
who are active and
people who aren't in their
wanting to
20s
get after
anymore.
it. Yeah.
Right, but it's not to say that people in their 20s they'll still benefit as well.
Right.
But just that there's the people who are like, oh wow, I've never seen these combinations before.
Yeah.
And like you said, the flavor's great, the consistency's great, the quality's like off the chain. And we didn't pull any punches on anything, which is, and partly because you guys have known this as well. It's got my damn face and name on it. You know what I mean? So we can't be selling garbage to folks. We got to just go, you know. And you look at P90X. I mean, it was the best of the best. And every program I've ever created, I'm working with Gaiam now, and those workouts. People have very high expectations for anything that I do, and so far we've about 1,000, and we're going to continue to do that, which is cool.
Man. Well, it's been an honor to work with you, Tony, and to have you on the show, sharing all these stories. Man,
dude,
thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So Tony Horton, easy to find. Check out Power Life Nutrition as well. You're on Instagram, sharing insights on there.
Yeah.
And your own website. You have an email list on there. People
I
can
do.
get
People
on.
want to get on that email list. They can learn about all the things I'm doing. You know, for example, I don't know when this is going to air, but we have my Paragon events at the house.
Yeah.
We've had 3 last year, all sold out. The one in March is sold out. We'll have 2 more in 2020. Plus, we have a yoga retreat, a ski yoga retreat in Jackson Hole every year. So it's TonyHortonLife.com. Power Life, get it? Power Life, Tony Horton Life. It's all about life and improving the quality of your life.
Boom, making
So
that
there it
life
is.
as long as possible.
Yeah, man, why not? It's a fun ride so
Yeah.
far. So,
Thanks, Tony.
dude, pleasure.
Much love, my man.
Back at you.
Thanks so much for watching. If you want to hear a story that's even wilder than that one, click here. You only have 5 seconds though. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!